Straight ahead on CCX News, a Plymouth bait shop owner's worst fear realized.
All these years of being vigilant, and it still happens.
The discovery that impacts the health of Medicine Lake. Plus, on this Veterans Day weekend, we share a Brooklyn Center World War II veteran survival story. But first, the incredible comeback, the prep football playoff game where the coaches admit they haven't seen anything like it. CCX News starts right now. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. It was a football comeback that will be remembered for years.
Maple Grove scored 3 touchdowns in the final minute of the game to beat St. Michael Albertville and advance to the state semifinals. John Jacobson was at the game last night in Brooklyn Park at Park Center's Field. John, what was it like?
It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. The coaches, the fans were shocked as the players and the St. Michael fans, and Coach Lombardi said afterwards, it was just like we drew it up that way. So we'll look at some highlights from the game. The game appeared to be over on a cold, chilly night. St. Michael Albertville going up 27-10 with about 4.5 minutes to go. And that's when the craziness started for Maple Grove. They scored a touchdown with 59 seconds to play right here. A pass from Curtis Haugen to Joel Raymond. Then kicker Andy Peterson executed not one but 2 onside kicks, leading to 2 more Maple Grove touchdowns. That one from Joel Raymond, and then Evan Hull scoring with 4 seconds to play gives them the win. Today we had a chance to catch up with Maple Grove coach Matt Lombardi and player Joel Raymond about the big comeback.
The student body was charging the field, parents were charging the field, and it was kind of about 40 minutes of what just happened. It was, you could tell it was grateful. Kids were crying because they thought it was over, and they got a second chance. There were kids that were jumping on each other, but it was still, you heard a lot of kids going, what just happened?
I cannot believe what just happened, and I'm just full of so much emotion. I see the whole sideline going crazy, the student section going crazy, and like, this is one of those moments I just absolutely can't believe what just happened.
They advance and they move on, but it was an unbelievable atmosphere there. Some people had left because they thought it was over and it was cold, and it wasn't.
Not yet. More coming up in sports.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Thanks, John. Property owners along Medicine Lake in Plymouth received some bad news this week. The lake is already infested with Eurasian water milfoil and curly-leaf pondweed. But as Delane Cleveland reports, officials from the Department of Natural Resources have discovered another troublesome invasive species.
You don't have to travel far to find an escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. Plymouth's Medicine Lake is one of those getaway destinations. In the cold weather months, visitors can enjoy the pristine surroundings. And when it's warm, it's a hot spot for fishing and recreation. But this week, the DNR announced that zebra mussels have found their way into Medicine Lake.
Shocking. All these years of being vigilant, and it still happens. It's heartbreaking.
Joe Hardy owns this boat and bait shop along Medicine Lake. He says the discovery is a piece of news he's been dreading to hear.
I've been thinking about impact for years. It's been a lot of sleepless nights, but what's it going to impact?
It's a question with numerous answers, considering that zebra mussels have no natural predator in Minnesota. Zebra mussels can compete with native species for food and habitat. They can cut the feet of swimmers, and they can reduce the performance of boat motors.
They're going to show up on people's docks, they're going to show up on people's boats, and they're going to need special cleaning.
Derek Ashey is Plymouth's water resources manager. He's one of the people who will work on the response going forward.
We certainly want the lakes to be fishable and swimmable and boating, and we want to use the beaches, and so there's going to need to be some thought into how we can maintain all of those pleasure and recreational activities.
In the meantime, Plymouth officials will wait for guidance from the DNR on how to help prevent the spread to other lakes. That said, they'll likely never know how they wound up in Medicine Lake.
Which is one of the most disappointing things about finding a zebra mussel.
The important thing now is to move forward.
Doesn't do any good to finger point. We just have to all live with it and keep trying to prevent, of course.
In Plymouth, Delane Cleveland, CCX News.
Signs on Medicine Lake will now go up, reminding boat owners to check their boat for zebra mussels when they leave the water.
In Golden Valley, the City Council has approved revamped plans for a senior housing complex along I-394, and that tops our look inside City Hall. Alongside a market-rate apartment complex called 394, developers are planning an assisted living building with a focus on memory care. The project will be smaller and 2 floors shorter than first proposed several years ago. The developer says after a legal challenge delayed the project, construction costs rose and several other senior projects were constructed, requiring the smaller design. And the Golden Valley Council also got an update this week on progress with Bottineau Light Rail. One hitch is that there is no agreement with the railroad to use its right-of-way or to slightly move its tracks to make room for LRT. The council was told there is an agreement in principle with the railroad for the Southwest line, so council members hope the Bottineau line will be next. Well, Thursday night was a big night for volunteers who make the magic happen on community television.
All right. Hey, 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 hey.
That's Master of Ceremonies Roger Larson. He kicked off the annual celebration for CCX Create. Hundreds of volunteers produce more than 1,000 shows each year on public access television, with topics ranging from politics to crafts to African culture.
It's a chance for them to get together to celebrate what each other does. A lot of them have formed friendships here, so it's just a really fun night to just celebrate the whole concept of community TV.
Producing your own television show, you can learn for free at CCX Create. Educational classes are ongoing. Still ahead on CCX News, it's Veterans Day weekend. We will share a Brooklyn Center veterans special story from World War II.
Plus, after opening round state tournament losses, the Hopkins and Champlain Park volleyball teams look to bounce back in consolation play.
But first, not as cold this weekend. Temperatures rise into the 40s. Of Veterans today at New Millennium Academy in Brooklyn Center. Members of the American Legion, police officers, and city officials joined students from the school in a flag-raising ceremony to honor veterans from all wars. Veterans Day falls on November 11th every year, the date signifying the end of World War I, but many are observing the holiday on Friday. 94-year-old Don Halverson of Brooklyn Center fought in World War II.
He recalls the horrors of fighting the Germans as they invaded Europe, and reporter Sonia Goins shares his story.
That's me when I was a kid, taken just before we left Italy.
Although the war was more than 70 years ago,
34th Red Buller.
Memories are still fresh in Don Halverson's mind.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn Center resident was a sergeant with the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division 168th Regiment.
I landed in Italy on the 13th of October.
Halverson was in charge of the weapons squad for the whole regiment.
Here's some of the big guns they use on Germans.
He and his fellow soldiers fought the Germans as they invaded Italy.
We'd knock them off one mountain, and then they'd fall back in the next one. You have to go take that one. And so he just kept on going back till he hit Switzerland. After I joined him here at Naples.
Not only was the war dangerous, it was physically exhausting as Halverson led soldiers through rough, mountainous terrain.
When you walk through Italy there, you know, thousands of minefields and booby traps and bouncing betties. And it wasn't just the bullets and artillery and mortars, it was all the minefields.
While fighting the Germans at the Battle of Cassino, most of his platoon was wiped out.
Cassino, that was a 4-month battle there. We were only there a couple of days when I lost my platoon, and there's more bodies there than there was in invasion France.
He says May 2nd, 1945 was one of the best days of his life.
Captain got the call, he was up there by the Swiss border, and got the call and hollered out, the war's over.
He didn't get much fanfare when he returned home.
They always talking about, you know, getting veterans having parades and stuff. I just got home and never had nothing for 60 years. So.
But in recent years, he received many medals, awards, and honors. He even received a letter from President Obama. All the accolades are long overdue for a war hero who bravely served our country proud.
I'm glad I lived this long. A lot of guys never made it.
When Don isn't polka dancing or walking around his neighborhood or bowling, he likes to hang out at the Crystal VFW with his buddies. He plans to celebrate Veterans Day at a local restaurant. And Mike and Shannon, he is not letting his age slow him down. He'll be 95 in February.
He looks really good. Maybe it is the polka dancing.
I know, right? He can show me some moves.
And it's good to finally get those honors. Thank you.
Correct.
Well, the Palmer Lake VFW held an event to raise money and awareness about veterans who are homeless. The Community Action Partnership of Hennepin County works to help find apartments for veterans. Sometimes that includes subsidizing rent and the security deposit until a veteran can find employment. Those who work with veterans say homelessness is huge, but a hidden problem in the suburbs.
So you might see people, homeless individuals that are sleeping in their car in parking lots out in the suburbs, like in a Target parking lot or a Walmart parking lot or a supermarket parking lot, and you may not know that they're homeless. And so it's a lot more hidden out here.
The Veterans Affairs Registry shows more than 600 homeless veterans have been helped in Hennepin County since the registry started 3 years ago. Well, still ahead, sparks fly in a pajama factory. We'll explain coming up in Weekend Showcase.
But first, highlights from one of the greatest comebacks you'll ever see in a high school football game. John Jacobson is back up next.
I'm John Jacobson with sports. There are unbelievable endings, and then there are unbelievable endings. Somehow last night's Maple Grove St. Michael Albertville State playoff football game seemed to have both, if that's possible. To the highlights we go. STMA's Marcus Krupke to Xavier Thurman. A 17-yard touchdown gives the Knights a seemingly secure lead, 27-10, 4.5 minutes to play in the game. Same score. Maple Grove's Curtis Haugen to Joe Raymond in the end zone, 17-yard touchdown, 59 seconds remaining. Point after fails, and it's 27-16. Crimson have to go for the onside kick, and they play it perfectly, recovering the ball at the STMA 49-yard line. After a Knights timeout, it's Haugen back to the air again. He'll find Raymond open down the sideline. He streaks 49 yards for another touchdown. The try for two fails, and it's 27-22 with 46 seconds left. Another onside kick try. Andy Peterson, another great kick. Blockers knock players away from the ball. Justin Stolp, his second straight recovery. Crimson are in business. Watch the one-handed catch by Raymond here a few plays later. Gets Maple Grove down to the 1-yard line, and then Evan Hull on the next play walks in. Hull with the winning score. Maple Grove wins it 29-27, a football miracle for the Crimson.
We're fighters. You know, we've had multiple games where we've been down and we've came back and won it. This team will never give up, and I know I can count on them. It's at the end of the games, people always talk about if you're down, don't ever give up, don't ever give up. And all 11 guys on the offense, we just didn't give up, and we made it happen.
With 4 seconds to play.
The Crimson now face top-ranked Eden Prairie in the State Class 6A semifinals next Thursday at 7 o'clock at U.S. Bank Stadium. Now to the state volleyball tournament. Both local teams lost in the quarterfinals of the Class 3A tourney on Thursday. Champlin Park back to their full roster today in consolation play as the Rebels met Stillwater. First set, Izzy Ashburn sets to Jordan Stalpus for the big swing and kill, giving the Rebels an early lead. And then later, Ashburn quick set, Sammy Hilly with the kill, and Champlin Park wins 25-17. Second set, Brianna Gore delivers back-to-back ace serves for Champlin Park, giving the Rebels a 19-15 lead on the Ponies. And they're able to close out the set. Emma Schmidt tipping it over the block. Champlin Park wins 25-23. They go up 2-0. Third set, Ashburn feeds it to Hannah Praske for the tip off the block and down. Champlin Park sweeping Stillwater, and they advance to Saturday morning's consolation final. After losing in 3 sets in the quarterfinals, Hopkins looked to bounce back. They had a close match in their consolation bracket game. They played Forest Lake Friday morning. Late in the second set, the Rangers get it left side to Abigail Gronwig for the big swing and kill. Forest Lake wins 25-22, and they're up 2-0 on the Royals. But Hopkins will fight back on this one. Offer a Rangers serve. Tara Lee to Shadir Tutt for the kill. And later in set 3, Catherine Newman will get a set to Nicole Class. And her kill will help the Royals win this one. And they win the 4th set at well. And they force a 5th set in this one. Anna Erickson with the attack that the Rangers can't get back across. And Hopkins wins 21-19 in the 5th set. So they'll play Champlin Park Saturday morning at 9 for 5th place.
Spots in the state girls swimming and diving meet are up for grabs this weekend. Section meets will determine qualifying athletes. The Section 5 AA meet, which includes many of our local schools, moves to Plymouth this year at Lifetime Fitness. This is action from the swimming preliminaries Thursday night. Host Wayzata is the heavy favorite to win the team title, with Armstrong also expected to be near the top. Other local teams in the meet are Osseo, Park Center, Champlin Park, and Hopkins. The swimming and diving finals are Saturday at 5 o'clock. Maple Grove is in Section 8 AA in Elk River. And that is all for sports today. We'll be right back after this.
Well, finally, from theatrics on the field to the stage at Maple Grove Senior High.
Maple Grove students kicked off their latest stage production. Neil Persley has more in today's weekend showcase.
We do our auditions before the school year even starts.
It's not a stretch to say that Maple Grove Senior High's production of the Pajama Game has been going on now for the better part of 6 months.
This group of kids has been the most easy to work with of any group of students we've had through this program in my time here. We have seniors who are so committed to leading in a kind way.
There's a mutual expectation of excellence that's shared among the cast and crew, which has produced an excellent show. Set in a 1954 pajama factory in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the story revolves around a union labor versus management dispute over workers wanting a raise. Senior Sam Irvin plays Babe.
She is the head of the grievance committee, so she hears all of the complaints. And she also happens to fall in love with one of the management who's against the raise.
Senior Tim Edwards plays Sid Sorokin, the new guy in town factory superintendent, who immediately falls for Babe.
Even though they are in two different segments, and she is for the union and I am against the union, which is, I mean, it'll add definitely a lot of conflict.
I can take it if you can.
Sparks fly in more ways than one.
Somebody jammed the line.
Who did that? I did. You're fired.
This play isn't the first time Sam and Tim have worked together.
We have been best friends since 7th grade, so it's just kind of been creating a new dynamic with our relationship. But also on stage, it's been really effortless and very fun.
The performance is crisp and clean. Maple Grove Senior High sets the bar high and does not disappoint. For Weekend Showcase, Neil Persley, CCX News.
The Pajama Game runs tonight and Saturday, then next Thursday through Saturday at the Maple Grove Senior High Theater. Tickets are $8 for adults, $6 for students. All show times are 7 p.m. An impressive set, too. They do a good job over there.
They do. It looks like a lot of fun.
That's all the time we have for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And we'll see you back here again next week.